What's up, everybody? Max Whitman here, back again. We're back for our tutorial series, we'll call it, with Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. Welcome to the show. Our last episode, we did some character development tutorials. The episode before that, we did a little bit of storyline planning. We had a planning sheet tutorial before that. If you haven't watched those videos, go back and check them out. You don't have to watch them first. You can finish up this one and then go back and watch the other ones. They don't really interconnect, so you can watch them in any order you want. So welcome to the show. I appreciate you stopping by, and I'm actually excited for this one because developing original characters, if there's one thing that I'm admittedly a little bit less inclined to do, it's develop my own original characters. I tend to stick with what the game gives me, maybe kind of make an alter ego here or there for a guy. It's an additional character for him, but it's very, very similar to what the character is either in real life or what they are in the game if you're playing the Cornellverse. So this was a little bit more of a challenge for me. This is really one of the few original characters that I've come up with. But I do have a method behind it. I do have some sheets that we'll go over and some ideas for you guys. So this is WWF 1994. So I'm going to run through the original character development, the original character creation sheet, and then at the end of that, we'll go ahead and we'll see if we can't find somebody either on our current roster or in the free agents to fill this original character that we've created. So we're going to actually go ahead right now and actually create a character that we'll be using in our 1994 save. So that's kind of cool, whether it's a new free agent that we sign or it's somebody already on our roster. So let's go pull up my sheet here. Okay, so this is my character creation sheet, and we'll just go over a few of the things. And so we'll just start. It's character name. We're gonna create a guy named Nefarian. It's kind of a play on the word nefarious, sort of an evil vibe to it. Where we go with that, I'm not 100% sure, but we're gonna call him Nefarian. That'll be his name. Role. This is sort of his role on the roster. I don't really know exactly where I'm going to put him, so I leave it blank. It'll likely be upper mid-card to main event. Let's say somewhere in there. That's kind of the game plan. Upper mid-card to main eventer for the hell of it. If we can't find a guy in free agency, whatever, that kind of fits that bill, then maybe we lower that. But for now, let's assume we're going to go with an up card. Obviously, just, sex, place of birth, place of residence, just simple biographical stuff. So we're going to create Nefarian. He's going to be a male, and we'll give his place of birth Dumfries, Virginia. I drove through Dumfries one time. That's kind of why I picked it. I drove through it, and I think it's down in Stafford County, Virginia, I think, or Frederick County, Virginia. I don't know. It's down somewhere in Northern Virginia, I guess. It's in the Fredericksburg area. So we're going to make him, that'll be his place of birth. His current place of residence, unknown. And then we just got a couple of physical features. Physical features, obviously, if you're creating a character, especially in TEW, where you don't necessarily see the character. If you're using this and playing WWE 2K, you can sort of just eyeball it as you create your guy, and you can eyeball it and tweak some things as you go. But if you're playing TEW, you don't really get to see the guy. So it's important to me to have a real solid description of what this guy looks like, right? So for height, we're gonna go 6'7". His body type is muscular but not shredded. So we're going to think like a Kane kind of guy, I didn't add weight in here, and I should have, and I didn't, but we'll put it in body type here. So let's say he's 6'7". We'll make him He's 6'7", 270, right? 6 foot, 270 pounds. Muscular but not shredded. So we're thinking like Kane, when Kane debuted. So Kane was well built. You could see his muscles, but he wasn't super ridiculously shredded or ripped. Just a big, intimidating, strong guy. His hair doesn't really matter, but I like the British pop mop. And then over here, I've just put in a little a link to a website. It's a fashionbeans.com, cool men's haircut. And if we put that in our browser here, and obviously as you can see, as my browser pulls up, I'm a Mets fan. You see metsblog.com pop up here. But we're gonna go ahead. We'll paste that in, and that way I can scroll down here, and I can scroll down just if I'm trying to gauge what the hair is that I'm talking about. If you're trying to, it is, where are we here? Coming up. It's coming up. There it is. The British. It's Liam Gallagher's British pop mop. Not so much this style. I like this style for a Neforian. Something like that, right? So I just put this in there in that thing just so that if I'm looking for guys in that free agency list, and I don't want to have to change their hair or add hair to them, I can just kind of look for a guy who maybe has that little style of hair. It's just like a little link for me to help me kind of remember exactly what the Brit pop mop is. If you're from the UK, you don't really need a reference for that. But if you're from the United States, like I am, then you may not be 100% familiar with the Brit pop mop. Eye color is like an icy blue. And then over here in my notes, I'm just putting Neforian's eyes are beautiful, alluring. They pull you in. There's something about his eyes that captures you. That when you see him, when you see Neforian, when you make eye contact with him, there's just something about him that locks you to him. He's beautiful. He's got these beautiful eyes. So, and they're like an icy blue color. They're not a natural blue. We're almost talking like a Siberian husky's eyes. The way a husky's eyes would catch you, that's kind of the look that we're going for with Neforian. They're striking. They're very, very noticeably different than a regular blue color. Skin color, white, not pasty, definitely not tanned. Right, so this isn't a guy who's spending a lot of time out in the sun. It's not somebody who's clear pasty white, but he's definitely not your typical pro wrestler in 1994. He's noticeably different. Facial features, hard jawline, beautiful eyes. So that's what I'm going to be looking. It's one of the things that I'm going to look for in a potential candidate to fill this role, is that hard jawline. And I mean, obviously in TEW, you can kind of recruit anybody to play your character, right? But for realism's sake, I like to describe the facial features and describe what he looks like, and then try and find a guy who looks like that, just for realism's sake, just so that, one, it makes it a little bit more difficult, because, I mean, I could go out and I could turn Shawn Michaels into Neforian, and the game wouldn't really know any better, but that's not a gimmick that Shawn Michaels is going to get over with in real life. In the game, he's going to get it over. Why? Because he's got good charisma, and he's got good popularity, and he's a hell of a worker. So the game doesn't care. You can make him a one-legged, one-armed pirate if you want to, and he's going to get over, for the most part. But for the sake of realism, I like to try and find a guy who fits my description of the character. And that might mean that I have to work a little bit to get this guy over, because maybe I'm not bringing in a top guy for that role. But in this case, we're going to look for somebody with a hard jawline and nice eyes. The eyes, I'm not overly worried about, because we can use contacts for that. From a role-playing perspective, we can imagine that we've put contacts on the guy to make his eyes, look beautiful. But that hard jawline is important. So we can't have Kevin Nash because he's got a weak jaw. Those are his words, not mine. Hope Kevin Nash doesn't beat me up. His clothing style, he's going to wrestle in white and gold tights. Normal clothing that he would wear every day is anything that sort of hides his features. So you're not really going to get a real good look at Neforian until he's in the ring and he takes that robe off, or whatever it is that he might be coming down to the ring in, takes that off and you see him in his wrestling gear. Ordinarily, he's got maybe a towel over his head, or anytime you see him on camera, maybe he's in a shade, or a shady area, darker area. Education, unknown, most likely a high school graduate. That's it. We don't know much about him. That will be something. I've actually already got a storyline planned for Neforian, and this education, that is something that we're going to explore with him through a storyline. So this might change as you build your story, as you build your character. Don't forget to come back to this and keep updating this. You don't necessarily have to update it with your characters, your default characters, because you can just update their their character development paragraph. But with your original characters, it's good to keep this updated, because you're gonna have to come back to it every now and then to remember, okay, well, what did I have for that guy? What's his education? Does this fit his character? So as the storyline progresses, we're going to update that a little bit. You can put little notes over here if you want to, so that you know kind of where you're going. I don't have any here because I don't want to ruin the storyline that I'm going to be putting up on this channel, obviously. But you can update that, right? Peers, none. Neforian's going to be a loner. He's not going to have any peers. He's not going to have any friends. He's not going to have a tag team partner. Again, does it mean he's not going to develop them? No. He might develop friends. But right now, on his debut, when we're creating this character, no peers. Family, he speaks of his mother, but no one else. His father left them at an early age. His mother is the only person he seems to care about. So, again, it's just a little bit of a peek into the background of that character. Does he have a mom? Does he have a dad? Does he have siblings? In the case of Neforian, I'm trying to build a very mysterious character. It's not my strong point, so I'm trying to kind of step out of my comfort level and build sort of a mysterious, dark kind of character. So for now, we're just going to go with he speaks of his mother. That's it. We don't know who his mother is. We don't know what's going on with her, but he speaks only of her. Occupation, none. Occupation is in there. I use this same exact sheet for all sorts of character development and character creation. So whether I'm writing a short story, whether I'm doing TEW, whatever I'm doing, this is just a general character creation sheet. So in this case, we're going to put none, just because generally my wrestlers don't have occupations other than wrestlers. If I was creating Duke the Dumpster Droese, I would put Garbage Man down there. It does work for wrestling, but generally you may have that be blank there. It might just be none. It's more of just if you're watching this and you're not a TEW player, you're watching this because you want some help on creating original characters for a book you're writing or a story you're writing, you would put that occupation in there. Intelligence level, this is different than education. You could have him with a master's degree, but not be very intelligent. Maybe he cheated his way through college. Same thing here, where I have education unknown, most likely high school, but down here I have him, Neforian is highly intelligent. Neforian is extremely well-spoken. So we're starting to form now, we're starting to starting to take shape what kind of guy we're going to be looking for to fill Neforian's shoes, right? We know he has to be 6'7", 270, so we know we're looking for a big man, but he's also highly intelligent and well-spoken. So we're also going to have to be looking for somebody who's okay, who's pretty good on the mic. Ideally, somebody who's very good on the mic. But we'll kind of see what's out there, right? Languages, just putting if he speaks any other languages. I just chose English here, but this would matter. The game does take into account languages that you speak. So if you want your character to speak English and French, you're going to have to find somebody who speaks English and French. It's going to really limit your options as to who you're hiring. But if that's important and you have a character who's bilingual, then you got to find a character who's bilingual. The character in there would have to fit that. Unless you're going to go with a fake Russian accent. Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm yawning here. It's very late where I'm at right now. But yeah, so we're just going to go with just English for Neforian here. Personal identity. This is arguably one of the most important parts of character development, character creation. Neforian classifies himself as the embodiment of all the evils in the world. All the things he has endured in life are what makes up his identity, right? Now, keep in mind, that's his personal identity. That's how he identifies, right? He identifies as the embodiment of all evil. He identifies as all the negativity and all the negative things that he has had to endure in his life. Again, those are the kind of things that in that introduction storyline for Neforian, those are the kind of things that we'll explore. It actually makes for a really easy storyline here because you've created this guy and now you have to give his backstory and tell his story. So boom, right there you've got a storyline. We'll be implementing that in 94, and you'll see, if you want to follow along with that series, you'll see how I build that storyline and how we kind of introduce Neforian to the viewer. His personality traits. Neforian is cold and calculated. He trusts nobody, and he uses others for his own betterment. Neforian is a man on his own. It's almost sociopathic in the sense that Neforian is just using others for his own personal gain. He's cold, he's calculated, he's got an ice-cold heart, and he thinks everything through logically. So it is, we're bordering on sociopath here. That's kind of the vibe that I want to give him. I don't know if I'm going to actually make him a legitimate sociopath, but that's definitely the vibe that I want this character to portray. Almost like a Bray Wyatt, if you're a modern WWE guy. Almost like Bray Wyatt, except the difference is that Neforian is not going to be some cult leader. Neforian doesn't want people to follow him. Quirks. He claims to, quote, be the light, even though he's usually found in darkness. So when we introduce Neforian, when he cuts his promos, he's going to be similar to the way The Undertaker used to be, where it's very, very dark. You don't really get a good view of him. And yet he claims to be the light. That's going to kind of be that little quirk, that little bit of irony that we put into our storylines here, where he claims to be the light, but however he's always in the darkness. Quirks are important. Quirks are important for your character. They give him a personality. They give him a relatability. And this can even be something that's a little bit funny. If you want to add in a little bit of humor here, this is where you would do it. But the quirks are important. They don't seem important when you're writing them out, but they are. They definitely breathe that little bit of light. Every real person on the earth has a quirk. There's something quirky about them that some people might find odd. So in that case, you definitely want to have something in there. Again, you don't have to have something in every single one here. And when you're creating a character, especially in TEW, where you have to find somebody for the character, it's okay to leave the eye color blank, leave the skin color blank. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I'm creating Neforian. I don't care if he's a white guy, a black guy, or an Asian guy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the character. For me, I want him to be a not quite pasty white guy. It just limits who I can hire for the position. If it doesn't really matter to you what he looks like, leave him blank. But quirks are one of those things that you want to have something in there. It's a human characteristic for him. They need a flaw. They need a flaw. There has to be something about them that makes them flawed, that makes them beatable. In the case of Neforian, I'm giving away his first name here. In the case of Neforian, he has never let go of the things that made him this way. And again, we'll explore that more in the storyline. But that is his major flaw. There's a reason Neforian is the way he is. There has to be. He wasn't born this way, right? We're not creating a demon. We're not creating an evil monster, right? You can. It's pro wrestling. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But that's not the character that Neforian is. There's a reason he's this way. Neforian is a human being. He's a human being who was made this way. He was driven to be this way. And he's never let go of that. And that is something, it's what's going to fuel the storyline. It's what's going to make him beatable in the storyline. It's what's going to make him believable in that storyline. And just as a person, we all have flaws. He needs a flaw. Your character needs a flaw. He needs a soft spot, right? In Neforian's case, it's his mother. His mother is the only person that he speaks fondly of, that he seems to care about. Neforian only cares about himself, except when he talks of his mother. She's the only person he actually seems to give a hell about. Skills. Straight brawler. Neforian is an excellent brawler. There's nothing technical about him. He's also a great speaker who is very eloquent. All right. Here's where you're going to start to piece together the kind of worker you're looking for. Now, we know what the worker that we're looking for has to look like, but this down here is where we're going to start to see what kind of worker he needs to be. He's a straight brawler, nothing technical about him. So all I need to worry about when I'm looking for a guy to play this character, can he fight? Can he brawl? I don't care about his mat wrestling. I don't care about his chain wrestling, his aerials over here. Maxine is in the other room over here trying to hold in her coughs. It's okay, Maxine. You can cough out loud. Maxine has a little bit of a touch of the flu. She's one room over here, and she's desperately trying to cover her mouth with a blanket so she doesn't cough on the microphone here. She's doing it right now. Poor Maxine is dying over there. We're almost done, Maxine. We're almost done. Sorry, guys. A motto. He doesn't have to have a motto. Catchphrase. The game actually does this pretty well on their own, so you can just leave this blank if you want to. I added a motto, for in the darkness you shall find the light. That's kind of an idea that I had, that I think maybe he would end all of his promos with that line. But if you want to leave that blank, you can. The game will actually randomly, your character might just randomly develop a motto or a catchphrase that he uses. So the game will do that for you. It doesn't always happen, but it does. He also doesn't have to have a catchphrase. Not everybody has a catchphrase. His goal, make everyone around him feel the pain he has been forced to feel. So obviously Henry is a tortured soul, so to speak, and he wants everyone around him to feel that. You can leave this blank if you're just starting out with a character. I like to give them a goal right away. Otherwise, I feel like I'm bringing them in kind of without a direction, and that's a bad way to bring a character in. If you're going to bring them in without a real goal or without a real direction, you're better off just waiting or bringing him in as an enhancement talent. If you're going to bring a guy in as I would say mid-card or above, he needs to have a goal. Otherwise, he just kind of flounders. If you're bringing a new character in and you're okay with jobbing him out for a while until he builds up some popularity, then he doesn't really need a goal. But in this case, I want to bring this guy in as an upper mid-carder. I want to bring him in as a competitor, so he needs a goal. His motivation. What's the character's motivation for that goal? In the case of Neforian, it's revenge and hypocrisy. Revenge is a poor choice of words for the motivation for Neforian, but it's sort of revenge. It's not quite revenge, but it is sort of revenge, so I popped it in there. And hypocrisy. Hypocrisy on his own part, but also hypocrisy on everyone else's part. Neforian hates hypocrisy, but in a sense, he is also sort of a hypocrite himself. Which is kind of, I hope, what will make his character a little bit interesting. Does your character have any fears? We all have fears. Give him a fear. In the case of Neforian, it's fire. Neforian doesn't like fire. Why? I don't know. I just couldn't really think of a fear for him, so I gave him fire. He doesn't like fire. Maybe it'll pop up in a storyline someplace. But I couldn't really think of one, so I thought, well, you know what? Fire is a fairly realistic thing to be afraid of. So we'll make him afraid of fire. Or bears. Yeah, we can make him afraid of bears. Thank you, Maxine. Maxine suggested he's afraid of bears. You know what? Sure. Let's pop it in there. Neforian is afraid of fire and bears. And also afraid of bears who set fires or who are on fire. There we go. He's afraid of bears, fire, bears who set fires, and bears who are on fire. Frankly, I'd be afraid of a bear that's on fire too, for being honest. Also, fuck bears. I hate bears. They're terrifying. They're terrifying. Why'd you have to bring bears up? Why'd you have to do that? Maxine's trying to get me all riled up over here. I hate bears. They're like furry tanks, only stronger. They're like if you covered an Abrams tank in fur and set it loose in the wild, it would be a bear. And if that tank could climb a tree. Alright, moving on. External conflict. I'm leaving that blank because the external conflict is kind of, in wrestling, it's sort of going to bounce from storyline to storyline. So I leave it blank. I'm not going to bring him in with an exact external conflict. I do bring him in with an internal conflict, though, and that's the battle he's having with himself. He constantly battles himself about the man he has become versus the man he wanted to be. So, just another little insight into who Neforian is. That's his internal conflict that he struggles with among himself. His external conflict will be whoever he's feuding with at the time. The stakes. In this case, it's his mental sanity. Neforian is essentially having a nervous breakdown, right? He has let his life and the things that have affected him up until this point, things that he's gone through, he has let those things affect him to a point where he's teetering on the edge of not even really being there anymore. And he knows that, right? And so it makes him all the more aware of the fact, and yet, for whatever reason, he can't quite get out of it. So the stakes here are high. It's his own mental sanity, where he's teetering on that edge. Will he fall over into complete insanity, essentially? And if he does, what happens to the Neforian character? How does it change? Because if he does tilt that way and he falls, now we have a whole nother issue on our hands. We have a whole different character on our hands, right? It's the same character, but in a sense, there's a lot of things that might change about that character once his mind is 100% gone. Whereas, if he steps back the other way and goes back in a good direction, well, now we get to start looking at who Neforian the person is. Maybe he starts to come back and find himself back in a good place, and because of that, we get to explore the man a little more than the monster, so to speak. So his irrevocable moment. This is the moment where everything turned for him, and this is the moment his mother died and left him alone. So I'm spoiling a little bit of the story because I have to develop to create the character. So the spoiler alert for that story is at some point, his mother's going to, he's talking fondly about his mother, but she's no longer with him, and that's why. So that's sort of the moment when Neforian broke, so to speak, is the moment his mother died and he was left with nobody. Now it's a matter of the storyline finding out why he was left with nobody when his mother died. Why was it only him and his mother? His epiphany, I've left it blank. The epiphany is sort of that aha moment for him. And I don't necessarily think he's had an aha moment yet. So I'm going to leave it blank. Just because this is more if you're writing a story, you would want to fill that in with that aha moment where the character sort of figures it out. Maybe if you're writing a mystery novel, your epiphany would be when your main character gets it. He figures it out. He figures out the identity of the killer, or he figures out where the kidnapper took the kid, or something like that. In our case here for Neforian, we don't quite have it yet. If I knew the whole story already, I would put it in. And then I would just build to it as my storyline built. But I don't. It's kind of a storyline that I'm going to kind of throw together as we go. I've got the main plot points but I don't really know when that exact epiphany is going to be. So we'll add that as we get there. And then the resolution. The resolution, again, it's more for if you're creating a story with the character. How's it going to end? Has it resolve itself? Does it resolve itself? Does someone else help him find that resolution? So that's my character creation sheet. Those are all the categories I use. So we'll run through them real quick. Again, it's character name, his role, sex, place of birth, place of residence, height, body type, hair, eyes, skin, facial features, clothing style, education level, peers, family, occupation, intelligence, languages that he speaks, personal identity, personality traits, quirks, flaws, soft spots, skills, motto, goals, motivations, fears, external and internal conflicts, stakes, his irrevocable moment, the epiphany, and the resolution. Those are the main things. Now, if you have other things you want to add to that, you go ahead and add them in. But to me, that's the main thing. That's all it's actually more than I need to really start to get a feel for what I'm looking for in a character. Down here, let me make this a little bigger so it matches that font. Yeah, 16 works. All right, down here, important traits in potential workers. So this is going to be specific to TEW. So if you were watching this for 2K, or you're watching this as a writer yourself, just trying to learn how to develop characters, you don't need this. This is if you're playing Total Extreme Wrestling, and you need to hire somebody to work as this guy. So for me, the important traits in a potential worker for this character is brawling, acting, charisma, and menace. Those are the 4 traits that I'm most focused on. Odds are we're not going to get all 4 of them. We're not going to be able to find a guy who fits all 4. We're just going to try and get as close as possible. I also, menace, I was going to say we should also mark that we want a heavyweight. Let's mark that, actually. So we want somebody that's at least a heavyweight. So from here, we go and we look for it. So let's just minimize that a little bit, break it down. So let's look at our current roster, right? Let's look at who we have on our roster. So we're going to filter by heavyweights. Well, first we need a male, right? We need a male. We need, any push is fine. Minimum size, heavyweight. Maximum size, any. He has to speak English. And we want, in terms of skill, I'm looking for good brawlers. Good, let's say, where's acting? Good charisma. Good acting. Let's see if we have anybody that fits every single category. I doubt it, but let's see. And good menace. We want somebody who is menacing. I'm not worried about star quality because this guy doesn't have to be a world champion, so I'm not overly concerned with star quality. He doesn't have to be the face of my company. So let's see. Do we have anybody? Yes, we do. So, of all the guys on our roster here, it could be Bam Bam Bigelow. It could be Diesel. It could be Jim Neidhart, although Jim Neidhart is leaving. Oh, no, he's not. It could be Jim Neidhart. It could be Lex Luger. Lex, I tell you what, actually, that might be a decent spot for Luger. How is he as a heel? He's an 89. This would probably be a brute gimmick. It wouldn't be cool, it wouldn't be cocky. It'd be a brute. Either legitimate or brute. Probably brute. Lex isn't a bad choice, actually. I'd have to break up the Power Cats, but I'm okay doing that. That was kind of a funny gimmick anyway. It wasn't really something... Although, I probably can't change his gimmick. I probably can't turn him. Yeah, his last turn was recent. So, and his gimmick, It's slightly too soon to consider changing his gimmick. So, I can't do it with Luger right now, but if I wanted to wait, I could eventually change his gimmick. I could take him off TV for a while and have him come back with that gimmick. It might be Luger. Luger sort of fits all the... and I hate Luger. I hate his face. But the only thing he doesn't have that I'd be looking for in Neforian is he doesn't have, the beautiful eyes, right? I think Luger is kind of ugly. I want Neforian to actually be a fairly handsome guy. So it's possible that it could be Luger. We could do Randy the Ram. It's not going to be the Ram. Razor Ramon. It's not going to be Razor. The Undertaker. It's not going to be the Undertaker. I want to keep the Undertaker as the Undertaker for this save. But he would be a decent guy. He doesn't have the blue eyes, though. We could put the contacts in, though. And Vader, spoiler alert, Vader's coming to WWF. We stole him from WCW when we lost Brett to WCW. Those are all coming. Those episodes are all coming. So, not too many guys on my roster that I feel would be great for it. Luger is the one guy on my current roster that I could use in that way. And it might be a good spot for him, actually. Charisma 85, microphone 75, acting 71, menace 70. Star even has the star quality, brawling 65. So he's decent for the role. But let's go to free agents. Let's see who's available to hire. And we're looking for, again, a male. He has to be a heavyweight. He speaks English. He can work in the United States. I don't care about age. I don't really care about popularity, but let's say he's at least recognizable in the USA. And in terms of skill, I'm looking for a good brawler. I'm looking for a good... where am I at here? Good charisma. Good acting. And good menace. So let's see if anybody on the open market meets the requirements. Let's see. Fritz Von Erich. No, thank you, Mr. 65-year-old Fritz Von Erich. Jake Roberts. Jake's a possibility. Jake, I don't know that I want him in my locker room, so it's probably going to be a no to Jake, but it could have been him. Nikita Koloff. 63, 76 charisma, 64 acting, 82 menace. It could be Nikita Koloff. We could change his gimmick. Ray Traylor. No, not going to be Ray. Road Warrior Animal. He's hurt. Road Warrior Hawk. I don't want it to be him. Let's change the filter here. And let's get rid of the good acting. Nothing. Okay? Let's try that. Do we get anyone else? We don't. Let's see if we don't care. Any popularity. Now we add a few more. So, Better WWF, no. Brian Lee. Charisma, I don't know that I want to bring Brian Lee in. We already had him in here as the fake Undertaker. Demolition Axe, Dutch Savage, no. Fritz, no. Ivan Koloff, no. Ivan Putski, no. Jake Robert. Matt Bourne. Doink the Clown, no. Well, no. Doink's not big enough. Mike Awesome. Mike Awesome and the Gladiator. He's not being exceptionally agile for his size. Mike Awesome could work. 70 menace. 63 charisma. He's not good enough on the mic. I need a guy that can talk. Nikita Koloff, no. Ray Traylor. Steve Williams, again, not quite good enough on the mic. Taz. So Taz is he's not big enough for what I had in mind. But I could change that. Neforian doesn't have to be a huge guy. Taz is until you got the 73 menace, 76 acting, 78 charisma, 74 on the mic, hell of a brawler. He also adds the good mat wrestling and submission. Taz is a possibility. The Crusher? No. The Warlord? No, can't be the Warlord. Not good enough on the mic. Tony Norris? Is that Ahmed Johnson? It is. Oh, it's Ahmed Johnson. Oh, shit. Tony Norris, better known by his ring name, Ahmed Johnson. It's not going to be Ahmed, but that's a guy that might be worth keeping an eye on. Wahoo McDaniel, not Wahoo. So, it's either going to be Taz or Luger. What's Taz's popularity? 50? Well, you know what? I tell you what. I'm going to hire Taz. Let's give him a 3-year deal. I don't travel. I don't cover travel. Ever. Well, there you have it. Okay. So, I'm hiring Taz. I don't know. It's either going to be Taz or Luger. But at 27 years old, Taz is a guy I'm going to want to bring in anyway. I like Taz a lot. So, I'm going to bring Taz in. Stick around. You know, we'll see how he does. And then I'll decide when Luger... If I decide to go with Luger, we'll put the character off for a little while. We'll debut it when I can change Luger's gimmick. If I want to do it right away, then we'll make Taz Neforian. Taz could work. Again, he doesn't have the right hair. He doesn't have the right size. But he's got everything else, and then he adds a little bit. And he looks like that kind of look, that intimidation factor is there. What if I take away, Brawler, and I just look for a guy who has good charisma and good menace? I get a whole bunch more. Abdul the Butcher, no. Alexander the Great? That's Big Dick Dudley. No, sorry, Big Dick. Big Tilly, no. Billy Graham, no. Brian Lee, no. Bruno Sassy, no, sorry. You look like a poor man's Bubba Dudley. I might bring him in as a tag team, though. These guys are okay. It was Bruno Sassy and Big Tilly. Yeah, I may bring them in as a tag team. They're young. Dan Spivey, no. No, Jason Anderson. It's Jim Neidhart's cousin. 61 Brawler. 66 Charisma. 68 Menace. Nah, he's not good enough. King Kong Bundy, no. Kurgan, no, you're too ugly. And you're terrible. No. Super Leather, jeez. No. Alright, so that's what it's going to be. We'll hire Taz, we'll bring him in, and then we'll make our decision between Taz and Luger. So, that's kind of the way we'll go with it. I'm going to put up... This video's going up tonight, actually. As soon as I finish it, it's going up. And then we'll get the WWF 1994 series back on the rails. I've got a couple of videos recorded already. We're through Survivor Series with that. We had a whole Bret Hart situation that we've handled. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying the tutorial series that we're doing. I really enjoy doing it. This one didn't flow as well as I hoped it would, and admittedly, it's because it's something that I'm not really great at. But I hope you learned something. I definitely learned something doing this, and let me know in the comments below if you have another sort of tutorial thing that you're looking for, whether it's just about the game in general or something about character development or anything. Leave that comment below, and I'll see if I can get one for you. But until next time, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, click like, click subscribe if you enjoyed it. Check us out on Instagram at BookItBetter, Twitter at BookItBetter1. And so thanks for dropping in. I hope to see you around soon.